No, no.
60 bucks on the corner cabinet too.
Hey.
Some of the blown mold one of them's damaged.
Which one is it?
This angel here is damaged.
Yeah. Somebody wanted that one.
Rear's still here. It's not all of these, there's more boxes over there full of. Yeah. Crazy. Crazy. There's another box full of VHS tapes. It's just. Crazy, huh?
Oh boy. Welcome back to South Georgia Home. We got a little bit of a haul for you today, and then we're going to do something a little different at the end of it. One of the things that I thrifted at the estate sale that we went to Friday, I'm going to kind of put to use at the end of this video. So anyway, this was an estate sale Friday. Me and Jason both got it and went to it. And then I went to a thrift store and I picked up one thing. And then yesterday I went to an antique store and I got a few things. So it's just a combination of all that. And we'll go ahead and get started. There are a couple of pictures, a couple of pieces of furniture that are really too large for me to have here. So I'm going to insert just a couple of pictures of those at the end. One is a gun cabinet Jason bought for, I'm not even ashamed to tell you, it was $40 for that gun cabinet. And the little one that he had in that spot was one of those fake wood cabinets. He sold that on Facebook Marketplace for $40. So he's even Steven out with those gun cabinets. And he's got a really, really nice one now, bigger, and solid wood. So the other piece is a corner cabinet, one of those tri-cornered cabinets. And the purpose of that, I'm not replacing the one I have, the one that Jason built for me. I did ask about booths when I went to this antique store Saturday, and I have to call back Monday. So we're getting a little bit closer to the idea of doing a booth. So we'll get on with this estate sale haul, and then we'll get to what I'm going to show you afterwards. Okay, now, and that was about it. So went in the first shed. I didn't get anything, one of those small movable sheds. Of course, you make 2 or 3 rounds. I went back at the end and I did pick up something. And it's more for memories. My mother used to have one of these sets. And I know they're not expensive. They're not quality. This was made, I'm sure, in China. Made in China. But she had one years and years and years ago. It would be considered vintage now, I guess, because it just came out more than 20 years ago. And I remember taking each piece out because it was wrapped in tissue paper and putting it on top of the mantle. She had a fireplace in the front living room where the Christmas tree always was. That's where most of the Christmas decorations was. So on the mantle, this always sat, and it was a little mirror and all the glass figurines and the nativity set. So I've seen a couple of these. I've just kind of passed them by, but this one is still in here, and it kind of, when I opened it up, I was like, kind of reminds me of the way we used to do it. It's still got its little tissue paper. And there's the baby Jesus. Like I said, this isn't crystal. It isn't, it isn't anything fancy or worth a whole lot in anybody's mind. But now people consider it vintage just because it's more than 20 years old. But my mother used to have a set of these, and then probably still in her Christmas decorations in the house or in the shed. Nobody's gone through that stuff. So anyway, that just brings back a memory of helping her decorate for Christmas and using that on the mantle. In the shed, you did see me stop and pick up a tablecloth and put it up. Now that tablecloth, it was almost like a plasticky, lacy tablecloth. I didn't like it, so I kind of tossed it to the side. But then I found a box, and you saw me pick one piece up. It was a tablecloth, shocker. And I know the first step is to admit that you have a problem. The second step is to address it. I've managed the first step, but I can't conquer the second. It's just, I have a weakness for beautiful linens. So these have been washed. It does have a couple of tears in it. Let me see if I can find them. And there's one here, and then there's another one down here, right in there. So it does have a couple of tears, and it is square. It wouldn't fit my table, but we could do something with it, or it may theoretically one day go in a booth. In that same box, though, was this, and it is store-made. This isn't handmade, or I don't think it's vintage or old, that old. I've got one of these that I've used on that table, my coffee table. I believe it's a Martha Stewart one. I got it in an estate sale because I thought it was a big doily. And I mean, I guess they are. It's just, these are new factory made ones. So anyway, this is more of a tan color. I don't know if you can see that. That lighting, for some reason today, it's real sunshiny, but kind of cloudy. So every now and again, you'll have it really sunny, and every now it's really cloudy. So we're trying to use this ring light as best we can. Now, in the box with the china, with all the newspapers, and God knows what else, I did find 2 of these. I found some coffee cups, some coffee cups, teacups, and I liked them. I thought if I could get 3 or 4, but I could only find like 2, and I kept digging, and I was like, my hands are just rebelling at the thought of going deeper into that box. So I stopped. Maybe I'm not hardcore enough. I just couldn't do it. But these were the 2 platters. And you know I collect, these are on the table right now for fall. And you can see the edge. And I have a version of these with these flowers on them. So I have some platters actually on the wall of just the plain look. So now I have 2 platters. There was 2 of them in there. And they are the ones that are marked USA on the back. And they are in good condition. I don't think they were ever used. There's no scratch marks on them where you cut anything on them. The gold is still intact. Not that I'm a big fan of the gold. This one had a few more flea bites on it that I just couldn't get off when I washed it. We'll see them in here. But yeah, it was pretty dirty when I brought it home. So I did buy an easel, which that platter that I showed you in the last video, I bought, well, I had a thought of putting it on the wall and I didn't have a hanger big enough for it. So I bought that easel, or I just put it in my pile. And again, these estate sales, you pick a pile up, especially on the second day. Sometimes you get really good deals. So, yeah. Anyway, this was probably the last thing that I picked up in the shed. And it's just a little Vermont syrup. Maple syrup, absolutely pure maple syrup, Vermont. You can take the top off, and it still smells like syrup on the inside, really. I don't know how old these would have been. I don't see any barcodes or anything on it, but I thought that might be cute to kind of decorate with around Christmas or winter, if you do for winter. Same on either side. But the ends are different. There's a picture of a horse, and there's a guy with his dog. So that I just shoved in there. Now, I did say that I got 2, but she had a lot of cookbooks. There was one room that was nothing but like CDs and books. And then there was a spot in the living room that was, there was a big shelf of cookbooks. In another room, there was another shelf. In the master closet, in the master bedroom closet, there was more cookbooks. She had cookbooks everywhere. I try to find cookbooks that look like this. I'm under the misguided assumption, I think, that some things are just, the handwritten ones. Just looking through them is just, I don't know. I like those. And there is one in this book, Presbyterians Cook. And this is from Lake Wales, Florida. And I didn't look and see if there was a copyright or anything on it. Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church. It says October of 1989. So, but there is a recipe in here that we're going to try. It's called Mrs. Mack's Crescent Cookies. Right here. And I remember there was a lady I used to work with. She had, I recognize them as wedding cookies. She used to make the most wonderful cookies. And when I got married, I wasn't working there anymore by the time I got married, but her gift to me was 2 big covered tubs of those wedding cookies for my wedding reception. And they were wonderful. They were good. She was she was very proprietary about her recipes. She didn't give anything away. If someone would come along and say, "Oh, did you use real butter?" She would just smile and nod and keep on going. She never revealed any secrets at all. In some ways, I can understand that. If you're making a living doing that, you don't want, you want people to keep buying them from you instead of making them themselves. I can understand. But in the same instance, when you go, those recipes go too sometimes, unless you write them down and give them to somebody. So that was all for the estate sale, besides the 2 pieces of furniture that I'm going to put pictures in for you. Now, this was the only thing I bought at the thrift store. I did see one of those at that estate sale, but somebody had painted it kind of a gold, a really not so nice spray paint gold look to it. And I didn't care for it, but I did pick this one up. And again, this will probably be for sale. It's one of those mid-century modern candle holders with a little tray. So I did pick that up. And that was it for that day, for Friday. And then Saturday I went back and I said, I'm just going to go. I needed to get some shoes and I was going to get some clothes. And so I stopped at the antique store, just wasting time. Now this I picked up out of what I call, if you've ever seen me before, talk about the fur people. They have a booth upstairs. It's rather big booth. And all their stuff is 50% off. Always 50% off. Unless they mark it firm, I think. Anyway, this is the Felines Under Rescue charity organization. They help animals, so I'm more than happy if I find something that I like to help them out. This I saw, it was originally marked at $20. Of course, half off $10. And he is a pretty little turkey. I like him. I guess he's a planter. You can put whatever you want in him. But it says made in, I believe it's called Czechoslovakia. You can see that right there. It's like Czechia and then Slovakia on the bottom. And I don't know if it'll ever, I don't know if you'll be able to read that, but that's what it's, to the best of my ability, that's what it says. I also, linens. It's a common theme among my videos is linens. They had a basket and it said linens $2 a piece. So of course, $2 means $1 because it's half off. And I thought this is in great shape. Now, do I know what I'm going to do with it? Not really. I've tried it on a table and I didn't quite like it. So when I switch out another tablecloth or another runner somewhere, I'm probably going to put this there. This is in very good shape. No stains, no rips, no tears. It's just a little bitty tablecloth. And you can see the embroidery. You can see there in the middle. But they wash these, I'm guessing starched. But they are very nice, and $1 for that. Can't turn that down. So that was in the Fur People's booth. The first things I picked up when I walked in the door, there was a booth that had these. And you could certainly stand there and read these for free. But I bought them. I said I'll take them with me and read them. It's not quite Christmas, but these will come out probably around Christmas time, as you can see. It's just old postcards. This one is a little bit older. It's not in great shape. It does have a black kind of ink stain there, and the corner's gone, but it is a little bit older. It has a time stamp or date stamp, excuse me, of 1909. And then this one has a stamp of 1912 right in there with 1-cent stamps. And I guess just me being nosy and liking to read other people's mail. This was from HS somebody to Ida, maybe Conrad, in Ohio. How does this go from Ohio? This one is to someone in Michigan. This one is to someone in Ohio. How does it end up in an antique store in Alabama, southern Alabama? I'll never know, but it's just funky. I wish to express to all a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And it's from someone, I think in Illinois, to someone in Ohio. But you can barely make out the writing there. But this one, there's a whole letter written there, and it says, "Dear friend, we would certainly like to come for Christmas dinner, but Dad's arm is not well enough to travel. He says he will try and come later. When are you folks coming to see us? I do hope something." I don't know. Anyway, there's a whole little letter back there, and it's just interesting to read what people said and how they phrase things. And this was to someone, Mabel Schurenbrow, I don't know, New Haven, Michigan. Don't you like the days when all they had to just put was your city and your state? No street address. But yeah, Christmas time for those. And those were like $2 a piece. But that was the first things I picked up. And just because I'm nosy and I wanted to read them. And the other thing I got was for that plate, that platter. Somebody sells these in their booth. I think there was one slightly bigger than this, and then a few that's slightly smaller. It's supposed to fit 14 to 20 inch plates. but a little nicer than the ones I do have, but I think it was like $6. So that may be holding that platter on the wall if I convince myself to do it. And that was it for the weekend. Now, like I said, we are going to try this recipe for these Mrs. Max crescent cookies. I'm going to try to film making them and see how that goes. And we'll get you pictures of that furniture too. So hold on and we'll get to cooking in just a minute. Here's our recipe, Mrs. Max crescent cookies. 4 tablespoons of sugar, 1 cup of butter or margarine, which is 2 sticks, 2 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of water, vanilla, powdered sugar. All right, cream, sugar, and butter, add flour, water, and vanilla, shape into crescents. When cool, roll in powdered sugar. Not a lot of instructions on, I'm going with 350 on the stove just because it's just a universal thing, but not a lot of instruction there. Just says cream, sugar, and butter, add the flour, water, and vanilla, and here you go. I think it's something anybody can make. Most of the stuff you're going to have in your house anyway. So what do we have? We've got our sugar, we've got our vanilla, here's our 2 sticks of butter. I am going to be adding, this is a half a cup of just finely chopped pecans, because most of the pecans that most of these cookies that I've ever had always have some pecans in them. So we're just adding half a cup. And this little handy dandy thing right here, this is a KitchenAid mixer, hand blender, there it is, KitchenAid on the front. This is probably the best gift my nephew ever gave me. I have a KitchenAid mixer, a big red one, show you over there, but I hardly ever take it out. And the reason is it's just so much to clean. That I just pop off those mixers, those beaters, and clean them and put it up. So let me get everything started and get you turned around, and we'll see if we can film this. So there's our 2 sticks of sugar, which is 1 cup. It calls for 4 tablespoons of sugar. So a tablespoon and our sugar. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm gonna drop that back down in our little sugar thing. Now it's gonna get a little noisy with this thing going, so hold on. All right, let me get a spatula real quick. Just knock all this down. And it doesn't say anything about greasing the pans, but I mean, with 2 cups of butter in there, it's bound to be somewhat easy to come off the pan, hopefully. Now, I was going to use this, but I forgot. I've got a measuring cup in my flour. You can see there's my flour right there. So there's our knife. Level that off. And this is AP flour. I'm guessing you don't want this to rise. Now, some people would probably add a little cornstarch as well to make them somewhat brittle. That's up to you if that's in your recipe. This is probably close to that kind of recipe. And let's see here. Cream our sugar and our butter, add the flour, water, and vanilla. So the water is 1 tablespoon of water. And this is just a little bit of vanilla left. It just says vanilla. Doesn't say how much. So we're gonna put all that in there. And that's just that Watkins brand that I've had for a little while now. So we're gonna put all that in there. And like I said, these are not going to be super sweet because it's just 4 tablespoons of sugar. It's just when you put it in the powdered sugar at the end that you're going to have that sweetness. And this will dry right now. We're just coming together. gonna put in that 1/2 cup of finely chopped pecans. And I just did this by hand. I didn't bring out my food processor. I don't want to clean that darn thing either. So this is just hand chopped pecans. And like I said, it wasn't in the recipe. It's just any kind of wedding cookie or this kind of butter cookie that I've had, it's always had pecans in it. So, and we're fortunate we got our own pecan trees, so we can get them cracked, hull them out, and put them in the freezer, and we got them. So anyway, that'd be kind of like a pecan sandy, I think. Take those off. We're done with those. And that is a really, really thick cookie batter. Doesn't say, again, no real instructions. It doesn't say let it chill. It just says mold into or shape into crescents. Doesn't say what temperature to cook them on. Doesn't say how long to cook them. And these may not be the kind of cookies that get really brown. So you'll have to watch that and not overcook them. So we're basically done with the cookbook. What I'm going to do is get myself a spoon and we're not going to do crescents. We're just going to do maybe, and these are not going to probably spread. We'll see, but I don't think these will spread too much. So I don't want to make them too thick. It's my first batch, and again, no real instructions. So we're going to make just little cookies like this. Just imagine wedding cookies that you get in the grocery store. That's kind of the size that we're going for. So there we go. I don't know how many we'll get from this. We'll see in the end how many we get. You can shape these into anything. I know there's a lady that does like fingers. That makes them look like finger. This one says, of course, crescents. You can do whatever you want. Whatever shape you want, I guess. We're just going to do these in little mild cookies. And this is really greasy on my hands. Kind of get them all to the same consistency, like you would any other cookie. The butter had not been, well, it was taken out of the refrigerator before I started, so it wasn't hard, cold butter, but it wasn't meltingly soft either. So I wouldn't use it too soft, but I don't know if I'd use it really hard either. Since you got to mix it with that, cream it with your sugar. All right, you can see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that's 15 cookies on our cookie sheet, and we've just got the Silpat in it. Like I said, I'm hoping these are the kind that don't spread out. I don't think they're going to rise at all. And you have to kind of watch the coloring around the edges to make sure you're not getting them too overdone. But anyway, 15 to a sheet, got a little bit more dough to do, so when these come out, we'll put them on a rack and let them start cooling. We'll dish up the rest. So hopefully when we come back, we'll be at the finished. So I'll give you a little update. This is, like I thought, they wouldn't turn dark colored. You can see them on the bottom, they're not really dark. I started off with 8 minutes, and then when I took them out, they were still a little tender on top. So I put them back in for another 2 minutes. I've got the last few on timer right now. And I just broke one in half just to show you what they look like. So We are going to let these cool just another minute. They're not that hot. As you can see, I'm holding them on my hand. They're not that hot right now, but we're gonna let them cool, and then we're gonna dump them in that powdered sugar. I'm gonna go ahead and get to putting some powdered sugar on these cookies. The one I broke, I did eat. I'll just go ahead and tell you. These can be dangerous. They're not, like I said, they're not a lot of sugar in the cookie. Your sugar comes from that powdered sugar. But they are really, really delicate as far as breakable. They can be very crumbly for you. And I don't know if you noticed, but these did not have eggs. There were no eggs. So if you have people in your family that like cookie dough, safe. There's 2 cups of butter in it, but no eggs, no milk. Just water, sugar, flour. In my case, pecans. Of course, you're nut allergic, then, you know, leave that out. So we're going to try to dip some of these in some powdered sugar. Like I said, they are breakable. So, and these are just meant to be appetizers, really. I mean, like at a wedding or at a baby shower or a wedding shower or Christmas parties. So, I think we had 15 on the first one. I didn't count to see how many was on the second batch. But I'll try to get you a number, and you can see exactly how big mine were. You could certainly make them smaller, I'm guessing. If you made them into fingers, you might use less dough. But, yeah. And we're putting this on a pretty plate just for it to look pretty. But as soon as all this is over with and I get ready to put everything up for the night, then we'll put these in an airtight container. And these might even be a little bit better. I mean, I've let them cook just a minute or 2 longer than the other ones, so they may be a little more crumbly cookie or dried out cookie instead of a moist cookie. So, however way you like it. But that's it. Minimal ingredients, minimal skill, and you get yourself a nice little wedding cookie. Watching this, and if you want to, we did video the recipe. You can always take a screenshot of it and make them yourself. Thank you for watching South Georgia Home.